Good morning.
Thank you. I know it's still early on a Friday. We're going to give it a second for some people to come in. Yes, Ashley. Oh, we got a good audience here. Hey, Justin. Oh, congrats. Justin's going for a Pardot certification. That's awesome. I'm going to need a few people to turn on their cameras so I can actually see the things landing or not, though. Who's going to be the... Oh, there we go. I got one. Oh, ask and you shall receive. I got... Hopefully everybody's doing well. I appreciate the cameras on. I can tell if I'm being funny or offensive, which is always a concern. Good morning. Good morning. Oh man, we might be at capacity. People really care about UTM parameters. How's everybody doing? Good, good. We're going to give it another minute. Let people trickle in here. Yeah. Did somebody have a question or were you just raising your hand? Questions are allowed. I don't bite. Good morning. Good morning. Of course, Brian. I have nothing else to do in my life. I mean, I do have a baby on the way in about a week.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. That's
congratulations.
I got people with the baby. Got him. Good morning. Good morning. Yes. What is it? July 31st. Yes, it's a girl. Even though it's a social construct, we got a girl. I bought the domain name already, so I can sell it back to her later. It's good. Let's wait a little bit more. Uh-oh. Jessica's here from sales. Jessica, I thought this wasn't going to be a money-making opportunity. I could just talk about myself and my child.
I mean, you know, I need to learn some things.
Cares. All of a sudden, sales cares about UTM parameters. Cool, cool, cool.
I also want to win. So yeah, I do. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. I was going to say don't trust you, but it's okay. We can trust Jessica.
Trust me. I'm legit. Famous
last words. Is the UTM parameter in Marketing Cloud? Just checking so I can share it with my team. We're going to talk about general UTM parameters. I know with a lot of the rebranding now, marketing, Pardot is also called Marketing Cloud Account Engagement. I think a lot of what I say is going to be Pardot or Marketing Cloud Account Engagement specifics, but I am also going to generally talk about UTM, Salesforce campaigns, how they intertwine, because I think that's where, from a strategic perspective, there's a lot of disconnect on what they're used for, etc. So I'm going to talk a lot about that, but I will get into how to use it in Pardot or Marketing Cloud Account Engagement specifically too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. I just
thank you for the clarification. Just wanted to make sure this is specific to Marketing Cloud
or something else. But I understand what you just said. Thank you.
I'm glad you do, because I barely do a lot of time. So that's awesome.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and start recording, and we can start. This will be recorded and you'll get the recording. And I do appreciate the people with the cameras on so I can see if things are happening. I do like, my love language is words of affirmation. So feel free to give me little emojis on the bottom, or, oh my God, that's so awesome. But yeah, so thank you for joining. We still got people coming in. My name is Milton. I work for SalesLabX here in Austin, Texas. I do have a deck here. Let me share it, but I am not a big deck guy, so I won't go too much into it. But we are here in Austin, Texas. That's where we're located. We are certified Salesforce partners. We work very closely with them, but we are vendor agnostic. So, we support a whole kind of tech stack that you might have. There are our main kind of core areas of proficiency are tech stack orchestration, conversion optimized design for things like landing pages, email templates, infographics, cost savings calculators, things like that. And then obviously journey building, multi-touch attribution, fancy things like that. Where we might be a little bit different from other people that you know in our space is we don't do project-based work or hourly work. We think that's the wrong incentive when it comes to this type of stuff. So we actually have a subscription service where you pay one flat monthly fee every month, and then we come in and then we basically do these things for you or help you do that for you. So that's what we do. We also have master classes. I will actually be teaching one starting, I think it's August 8th, right after the baby. It's called Pardot Prodigy. So if you like what you heard today, August 8th is the start date, but I think registration ends here pretty quickly. I'll put this in the chat. Oh, we got some Austin fans. Yeah, so that's what we do. We have a subscription plan that basically we come in there, we build emails, landing pages, build your dashboards for you, build your attribution modeling, set up your UTM parameters. We work with all the big partners in the space like ZoomInfo, Clearbit, Outreach, SalesLoft, Apollo, all of those people, Google Analytics, WordPress, and we just help you build a really good user journey for you without ever having to worry about scope or any of that. If you want to, I'm sure Jessica will send you a nice email with the recording afterwards and then a nice little pitch. So if you want to hear more about what we do and how maybe me and you can work together on a regular basis, Jessica will reach out. If you want to hear about our master classes, registration apparently ends on August 4th. It is 6 weeks, small group, and you do also get unlimited one-on-one sessions with me during those 6 weeks so that we can actually drive into your environment and work in real life. Cool. And if you have any questions, feel free to raise your, oh, Catherine, hey, you'll be there. Awesome. We already got one. If you have any questions along the way, oh, look at that. We got hype beasts in the comment section today. I appreciate that, James. If y'all have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or put it in the comments. I thrive off being put on the spot. A lot of childhood trauma. So let me know if you have something. Thanks, Jessica. Feel free to stop and ask me any questions you might have. Okay. And also, when we go into UTMs and in a lot of these things, I have a tendency of saying things like facts, right? Because we are, we manage tens of millions of leads and contacts for accounts around the world at any given moment. So we have a huge data set of what's working and what's not working. But ultimately, it really depends on your org. And as long as everybody is aligned on these definitions, the way I say it doesn't necessarily have to be true. You don't have to do it the way I tell you to do it. So if you feel like you want to get some clarification, or you want to push back, or you want to say, hey, we don't do it that way, or what's the pros and cons of doing this way, let me know, or raise your hand or put it in the comments, and I'll make sure I address it. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about UTMs, and I want to talk about Salesforce campaigns, what they do, and what the difference is between both of them. Cool. So let me go ahead and show you here. So UTMs are a way for you to see. See, I've searched this a lot of times. UTMs are a way to see where your web traffic is coming from. Okay. So y'all might have seen this in on a lot of the links you click on, etc. Where is this? Oh, it's showing up on my other screen. Right. So if you go on the internet, you might see it yourself, but there are links like this that you might see. If you ever click on an ad, anything like that, you might see UTM parameters on there. Okay. Let me show you my example right here. Y'all can still see my screen. This is my email signature. Here are my baby moon pictures. I'll put it in the chat so y'all can see it. This right here is UTM, right? So I can track now in Google Analytics that anybody who clicks on this link is coming from my email signature through an email. My social commentary is corporate vulnerability, and you can see the UTM content here, right? So if I go into Google Analytics, I can tell the source of this traffic. That's the benefit of UTM parameters. Now, if I take my same baby moon pictures and I want to make it, I want to put it on, if I want to paste it on social media, what I'm going to do, I'll put this in the chat right here if y'all like it. I'm just going to go in here. I don't need to create a whole new link. I can just go here. I can say social and maybe Facebook. And now I'm going to take this link and I'm going to post it on social. This is my wife, mother of my child. There's me getting drunk. That's her being responsible. So now I don't need to create a new link or a new piece of content in order to know the source of that traffic. I have this one link and it tells me where the traffic is from. Any questions about UTM parameters, how to make them, or what they're used for so far? This is critical, this right here. Knowing what it's used for and when it's useful and drawing that swim lane is very critical. Can't you add those values in Pardot? Yep, you can. I'll show you how to do that. Any other questions or comments or anything about UTM parameters? Notice I'm not saying anything about revenue attribution so far. I'm saying UTMs, strictly speaking, are how to tell where your traffic to your website is coming up with without having to create a new form, a new landing page, a new piece of asset every single time. I do have a comically large water bottle. Exactly. So Ashley saying in the comments, which is my sister's name, this is a great way for you to track where the source is if you put it in an email or a text link or in a button. Or if you send a piece of content, a white paper, and you tell all your sales reps to add it on their email signature, and you also paste that piece of content and you post it on social media, you can tell where the traffic is coming from based on those UTM parameters. QR codes are also good. QR codes and UTM parameters are even better, right? Tracking primarily is done in Google Analytics. This is another pitfall I want you to avoid or try to avoid. There is this sense to romanticize getting all your data into a single pane of glass, right? They're like, oh, I want to see everything in one place, right? This also is a tendency of the general audience and marketers to say, oh, I have I don't have a Google Analytics person or a Pardot person or a Salesforce person or a dev person or a design person. I have a marketing manager, right? It becomes this catch-all thing. And then they come to you and they say, hey, I want to see revenue by UTM. Okay, well, you're kind of mixing two different things there. Now, I am the type of person who dies on every hill. So I have died on multiple hills. And I've realized at some point, a lot of leadership and a lot of people, they don't want their UTM data in Google Analytics and they don't want their revenue data in Salesforce. They want it all in Salesforce. I don't fundamentally agree with that because I think that Salesforce is not built to track UTMs on multi-touch attribution. Salesforce is a pipeline management tool. Pardot or Account Engagement Marketing Cloud is a cadence tool and a journey managing tool. Google Analytics is custom built from the ground up for one thing, tracking this type of data, multi-touch over a long period of time. So if you're in B2B, you have an extended sales cycle, high ASP, like Google Analytics is still super important for you. No matter what I tell you today, this isn't going to supersede the need for that. But I'm also going to show you how they intersect and maybe how to get this data into Salesforce so you can give leadership or yourself what you want. Cool. So in Google Analytics, I guess we have to finish up G4. Yes, it will be recorded because I know I go through a lot and I only got an hour and I had to spend 10 minutes going through a sales pitch for Jessica. But you can see right here how in Google Analytics, I can check all the UTM sources here. And in Google Analytics, I can set up what are called conversion goals, and I can build funnels to tell in aggregate how many people who complete my demo request form and visit that thank you page started from email direct, and I can see every touch point along the way. Just out of the box, right? Because that's what Google Analytics is built for. But a lot of times what people want is they want to be able to marry this data with Salesforce data. I'm going to give you a lot of caveats and I'm going to tell you how to do that because I know that's what you want. And that's what most people want. A lot of times people ask, hey, Milton, that's awesome. I want to see this and I want to see it correlated with my Salesforce opportunities or revenue data. But I want multi-touch, like 70 touches, and I want to see every email source, etc. Once again, Salesforce isn't built for that. If you really want to do it, the best way to do that is sending Salesforce revenue data or opportunity data or conversion goals into Google Analytics, not the other way around. Right? I'll put this in the chat too. I'm giving you all the caveats of how you should be using Google Analytics more. And then I'll tell you how to do it in Pardot and Salesforce too, if you really want it. Okay. So Justin's bringing up a good point here about the Google Analytics connector and Pardot and Salesforce. This course is going to, not this course, I'm used to the masterclass, but today I'm primarily going to talk about Google and I'm going to talk about Pardot or Account Engagement Marketing Cloud. But this should be true for Marketing Cloud, HubSpot, and all of those things too. Okay. So let me get into our thing here. Give me 1 second. In Pardot, by default, it tracks first touch UTM parameters. Okay. First touch UTM parameters. What does that mean? That means that what is the first way that somebody came to your website? Not the first way they filled out a form, but what's the first way they came to your website? That is tracked right here in Pardot or Account Engagement. This is one-dimensional. It's only first touch. So if someone comes to your website through a Google ad a year ago, right? But all they do is they come to your website and they click around. A year later, they see a LinkedIn ad and they fill out a form. This is not going to say LinkedIn. this is going to say Google, even though that happened a year ago, and that wasn't what caused them to fill out the form. Because first touch is how they first came in contact with your Pardot cookie, your website cookie, aka how they first came in contact with your website. This gets stored once and it never changes again. That's what happens out of the box. Any questions about that? Isn't that bad? You know what? If you've ever studied non-dualism, there's no such thing as good or bad, you know? It's all a spectrum. But no, it's not good or bad. That's not what most jokes are landing today. But it's not good or bad as long as we know what it's used for. Most people want multi-touch attribution, and they want to know what are the venues that are leading to the form submissions, the opportunity creation, and then the opportunity to be closed won. So if that's what you're looking for, this is quote unquote bad. If what you're looking for, hey, how did they first interact with my brand? This is quote unquote good. If it's a contact record in Salesforce, can't there be multiple custom redirects and UTM? This is only one. This right here, this is one. Even if you use multiple UTM parameters and they click on multiple UTMs, this will never change. This will never change. This is locked and loaded. Once it gets locked, it never gets changed. Okay? A lot of y'all will be looking at this, and a lot of them will be blank. If it's blank, it most likely means you're not doing UTM parameters, or it's organic, like they typed in your website directly, direct traffic. That'll be blank. Okay, so this is always first touch. Once it's locked, either blank or with something, it's never going to change. I'm getting to this. This is the workaround that we were talking about, unknown, right? So that's that, right? And I love Justin. Thank you. Good. There are other reasons why this would be blank. You know that little thing that shows up that says, do you want cookies to track you? If they don't click accept all on that, it shows up blank. Okay. So a lot of orgs, that cookie tracking banner used to be an IT function. So it looks like an IT function, right? That cookie tracking banner is no longer an IT function. That cookie tracking is a marketing ops function now. This is one of those things where I say things in a very hyperbolic way, but very confidently. But that's what I believe, right? That cookie tracking is now a marketing function. Because if leadership wants you to get attribution ROI, which is the big to-do now, you got to make sure, like Justin is saying in the comments, you got to make sure that cookie tracking banner looks awesome. I'm not going to get into it today because we only have an hour, but you can manage that through Pardot, and you can customize that cookie tracking banner through Pardot too. Okay. Cool. If I have time, I'll talk about first-party tracking versus third-party tracking, and that's the thing about the deprecation. So that's what this is. This field is in Salesforce. Okay, so you can run reports in Salesforce off of this field. The field, let's open a leads report right here. Well, actually, let me do it here so you don't see anything that you're not supposed to see. But those fields are called Google Analytics Campaign, Google Analytics Medium, Google Analytics Source, Google Analytics Term. Those are those filters in Salesforce. So that first touch data is flowing in automatically. this kind of like seeps into the Salesforce admin territory, but you want to map that into, you got to map that into the contact object. So when I hit the convert button on the lead, it maps to the contact object, but it is also on the contact object too. Yes, of course. Cool. That's UTM parameters on first touch. I showed you how the UTM parameters come in there, and I showed you how the UTM parameters. Oh, hey, I'm working on this deck about my working style. People don't get scared when they work with me. Okay. So that's the Google Analytics first touch attribution. Now, one thing I want you to keep in your mind is that Pardot does not put UTM parameters by default at all. Okay, so you see right here, when I go to my Google Analytics, I see email here. So you can see Pardot is driving a lot of traffic for us. If you're spending time sending out email, oh, I see you squinting, Julie. So this is why cameras on are so important. But you can see that email is coming in so that leadership knows that all that traffic that you're running is coming from email. Pardot doesn't do that automatically. Okay, so for us, it's anytime we manage somebody's Pardot instance, we always add UTM parameters to every link, whether you ask us to or not. Okay, so if you're not doing it already, get in the practice. Oh, this is nice. Get in the practice of doing that. So you see this link right here, even if it's just one, buds. See how all we're doing is adding UTM medium equals email. If you don't do that, it's not going to show up here with email. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't, but most of the time it won't. This goes for marketing. Some platforms are different. They have maybe some things built in, but for Pardot, I would always add it in because I want y'all to get credit for the work you're doing. Oh, this is nice. I haven't seen this. Act surprised when you get this in your inbox. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. You can unmute and ask a question. I'm sure other people have it too. Don't you need to put a campaign source medium at a minimum? No. Those are required, Lori, but you can see we're being lazy here. We're just doing email. That'll work. There are plugins to do bulk, but you know, we can talk about it. No, let me go over this part. This is the main thing I want to show you all here. And then we'll, if we have an extra time, we'll answer more things, right? So the name of this webinar, I was going to say conversation, but we're official, is, and those of y'all who are in the Salesforce for Marketers class, remember this sheet, is what about Salesforce campaigns and UTM parameters and how they work together? Okay. UTM parameters are to tell what channel is driving your web traffic. Cool. Salesforce campaigns are to tell, now this is opinion, right? But I say it like fact. Salesforce campaigns are to tell what is driving revenue for your opportunities. A lot of times people like to merge both of them together in their head. And leadership will ask you, Milton, I spent $10,000 in PPC ads. Tell me how much close won opportunities that is leading to. Now, it's a very good question. It's a very interesting question. It seems like a very obvious question, right? And I've tried to convince people that that's the wrong question to ask, but you know, it's okay. Because how I see it is the campaigns or what's actually driving people through the journey, and the UTM parameters are what are driving people to those campaigns. So ideally, in my ideal world, there's a team that's their job is to get as many people to register for this webinar. That's all they're doing. And then there's another team or another person, what they're looking at is, okay, how much is it costing me to get each one of these Pardot forms? And then how are these Pardot form submissions influencing deals? UTMs, and I'll go through this example. A majority of our accounts are B2B, extended sales cycle, multiple decision makers, what we call a considered purchase. So we kind of have that lens, right? Multi-touch is super important to us. So when you think about that modern sales journey, it's not linear. And I think that's the biggest misconception people make is like, I come to a webinar, then I book a demo, then I buy, right? That's not how it works. How it usually works is you see a PPC ad, you filled out a landing page for a white paper, that gets created as Salesforce lead, that goes through a nurture program of some sort in Marketing Cloud, maybe it becomes an MQL, then it gets sent to sales, then sales works a lead, then marketing sends them to a webinar, then they attend the webinar, then they get some retargeting ads, then they see an influencer Barbie campaign on TikTok, then they create the op, and then they go to a conference, attend the conference, then it close wins. The conference is the Salesforce campaign, and the marketing invite is the UTM parameter. The retargeting ads are the UTM parameter. The download of the content is the campaign. The webinar invite is UTM, and the webinar form registration is the campaign. Questions about this or open to debate? Okay. Now, ultimately, you want to, ideally, you're keeping these two worlds separate so that you can tell the signal from the noise, right? My thing is that most people don't even have multi-touch attribution on the campaign level. And those are the major checkpoints. So if you go down to the UTM that led to this, it's going to be a lot of noise. And my whole thing is, what is the fastest path to revenue? Right? What are the things that are driving revenue? So I don't want to add this layer of noise if it's unnecessary. Okay? But I see the comments in this section already. There's a lot of nuance here. You want to maybe see this data down here. There is a way to do it. There is a way to do it. It's complicated. Your web team, your Salesforce admin team, your Pardot team, or your SLX subscription that ties all of this together to create seamless journeys for you, need to all work together in order to get this done. Right? So let me show you a way to solve this, but it is a little bit complicated, right? So if you want to make the correlation between what is driving this to the channel they're coming from, ideally, this form submission is a conversion goal in Google, and UTM parameters are ran in Google. So your Google Analytics team can tell, hey, of the 50 people who filled out this form, 25 came from PPC ad, 25 came from social. In an ideal world, that's what would be happening. But we don't live in an ideal world. And I want y'all to keep your job. And you got to put deposits in the bank before you can make withdrawals. And I think in general, this is a good methodology to go to this. What you can do is, as a workaround, if you really want if you really want to be able to tell this in Salesforce, this is the way that people do it, right? So the first step is in Pardot, you create custom fields like this. So you have the standard ones, and then you have custom ones. Because the standard ones, you can't change the behavior. It's only first touch. But remember, in Google Analytics, it tracks it no matter what, if you have fields or not. It's just tracking it every time. But if you want it in Pardot, then you create these custom fields. Okay? Now, on your Pardot forms, you add hidden fields with those custom fields. Okay. Come to Par.Prodigy starting August 8th. And then we can talk more about it, but you can just Google it. We just add those UTM parameters here, the custom ones that we built, as hidden fields. Make sure you always do always display. So we add all those parameters as hidden fields. Okay. Now, no matter if it's their first touch, second touch, third touch, 20th touch, every time they fill out this form, it's going to add the UTM parameters on their prospect record. Okay. Now, I have synced those fields to Salesforce as custom fields on the lead and contact object. But now we run into a new issue because, Salesforce and Pardot, it's one in, one out. If I fill out a webinar form that came through a Facebook ad, this is going to say Facebook ad. Then if 2 months later, if I come and I say, if I fill out a white paper coming from LinkedIn, it's going to replace that with LinkedIn, right? So now you lose that data, so it's still not pure multi-touch. This becomes last touch, right? It's basically, since the last one gets thrown out and the first one comes in, this now effectively, this becomes first touch, this becomes last touch. Cool. But Milton, I want to know every touch because I'm a data hoarder. Okay. Sorry, I'm yelling. I don't get to talk to people that often. Okay. So, yes. So I want to know every touch. Now, this is what you can do. And Milton, I also want to know how this ties to campaigns. Okay, the correlation. Now it gets complicated, but it's not impossible. And on our professional plan, this is basically one of the first things we do for every account. I'm sure we have our thing, and I'm supposed to be promoting our brand, but Salesforce Ben, they post our articles. We like them. All right, right there. I put it in the link too. No gatekeeping. If you want to do it yourself, do it. Basically, what you do is that first step I just showed you, UTM parameters on the lead and contact object. All the links in the chat if you want to grab that, or if you want to get a sales pitch and talk to Jessica, you can email her. Then what we do is that we're going to create those same fields on the campaign member object. Okay, so if we go back to my little handy dandy flow here, you see how this, every time somebody fills out this engage form or this webinar, they're added to a Salesforce campaign. Okay, for webinar. Right there, I'm creating those same fields on the campaign member object. Now, talk to your Salesforce admin, talk to your SalesLabX rep, but then set up a Salesforce flow to automatically take that UTM parameter and stamp it on the campaign member object record. I'm going to stop here after this, and I'm going to ask for any questions, right? But honestly, if you give this to any Salesforce admin or developer, they could do it themselves. It explains it pretty well here, right? I'm not going to go through the whole hows and who's and who's here, right? But now basically what happens is, hey, I have 60 webinar registrations. Those 60 people are part of a Salesforce campaign. Okay. And now I can tell by a report how many of those came from each UTM parameter. And because Salesforce campaigns tied to multi-touch attribution on the revenue side, now I can parse out what UTM parameters those revenue came from. Thanks, Lindsay. Lindsay's saying they sent it to their Salesforce admin, that exact article, and it helped a lot. So yeah, cool. Cool. That's how you merge those two worlds together. And that's how you get that data, that holy grail that a lot of people are looking for. Okay. I'm going to stop there. And I'm going to say, is there any questions? And you can just unmute and ask me. I'll tell you if it's too nuanced, but yeah, or you can put it in the chat if you want to. Somebody has a question.
Milton, I can ask a question.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So we have like the B2B MA dashboards. We just set them up. Do you think that's the best way once we have these member objects set up? Is that the best way to report out?
Good question. So, we do, I think they rebranded it to like 5 million times. I think it's called Analytics Studio or something now. I don't know. Yeah. But, that is a visualization layer, basically. So that doesn't change. The data still has to exist. And even in B2B MA or Analytics Studio, hopefully my Salesforce AEs who are always pressuring me to sell something for them aren't here. But contrary to popular belief, that's not going to make this job any easier, no matter what they told you during that pitch, because that is just I like it. And for everybody who doesn't know, it's just this right here. It's included in Pardot Plus and Higher, and it's an add-on you can buy for Salesforce. It is a visualization layer. You still have to do all of this stuff. If you want to report on it, Analytics Studio or B2B MA, you totally can, but it doesn't change any of the underlying mechanic, the piping. Cool? One thing to remember about Analytics Studio or B2B MA is that it's traditionally meant for an executive dashboard. So the data is not real time. So it updates I think once a day, or there's a cadence that it pulls the data, just in random tidbit. Cool. What else? Any other questions for unmute before I go into the questions in the chat? So this method I just told you, because I see the question in the chat a couple of times in different ways. The point of this is not to measure every click on your website. Okay, it just isn't. If you want to get the whole journey, that's in Google Analytics, and it's anonymized data. I don't want to get too deep into it. It's called Gclid. Basically, everybody has a Gclid ID, and it's anonymized data. There is a way that you can marry your Gclid to your Salesforce ID, so it de-anonymizes it a little bit. But I think it's just so much noise, and but this is only going to track when they fill out a form. Okay, they're only going to track when they fill out a form. If somebody clicks on a Google ad but they don't fill out a form, it's not showing in here. And I don't think it should. But if you really want that, I see the comments in the chat, you can in Pardot or most systems set up something that's called a custom redirect. Okay, we're doing it right here because the social team wants to get credit. So, what they've done is they're not using UTM parameters. They're using a custom redirect in Pardot Prodigy pitch. And they're saying anybody who clicks on this custom redirect, I want you to automatically add them to this Salesforce campaign. That is another layer that you can do. But basically what they're saying here is any click should get revenue attribution. From a strategic point of view, I'm not sure I agree, but maybe I agree, maybe I don't know, right? But you can do that. You don't really need UTM parameters for that. It's just going to add them to a Salesforce campaign automatically. But this only works if they're already cookied and they're using the same device as they're using on their as when they first got cookied. You can use custom redirects for everything if you want. just a lot of noise, a lot of work. I'm lazy. I'm like basically like, what is the minimum viable product for to get the maximum ROI so I can spend more time doing that? So, you know, you can do, I think custom redirects do give you a lot more visibility and it could help you. You can create it every single time, but I'm not sure, you know, if you're pretty good with your process and you have time and you're efficient, yeah, go ahead. But I would rather spend time A/B testing my messaging, maybe. But you can use it, and it's unlimited, so you can totally use it. I got a question in chat from Mike saying, can you explain how you set up SF reports to get actionable multi-touch insights across the life cycle from leads, MQLs, op, create, closed, one? Yeah, good question. Using native Salesforce functionality, what I would do, first and foremost, on the opportunity object, I would create a timestamp field. And every time they go from stage to stage, like MQL date, opportunity proposal sent date, I would create a timestamp for each one of those when they hit one of those checkpoints. Okay. Then what I would do is I would create a flow in Salesforce that says, what was the last campaign they were a part of before they became that stage, using that timestamp to check those different things. Then I would run a report and I would say, hey, and I actually think this is a much better idea than the UTMs that everybody's obsessed with, right? Which is basically like, okay, now I can say, hey, of the things that went from proposal sent to closed one, 90% of them read this white paper was the last thing that they did. So, right? Like, that's awesome, right? Hey, if the deal sales cycle is on average 60 days, when this was their first touch point, that sales cycle reduced to 45 days. Dope. That's awesome, right? Like, let's do that, right? So I think that's a great idea. If you take that snippet of this recording, send it to your Salesforce admin, they should help you with that flow, or set up a demo with Jessica and I can talk to your Salesforce admin by myself. But I think that's a great idea to do that there. You know why people don't do that? A little bit of a soapboxing. A lot of orgs aren't incentivized with full funnel attribution, right? It's like very siloed. It's like, your job is to get me clicks. Your job is to get me form submissions. Your job is to get me, and then like maybe the SDRs is to get appointments. And then the sales reps is to get like the revenue, right? So marketing is never providing air cover for sales during the sales journey. The first thing I do, no matter what you pay me for, when I come in and I build funnels for you, is I do full cycle. Because I know ultimately that's really what's going to move the needle. I'm not just doing lead creation and top funnel. I'm also mapping out what happens when an opportunity is created and how can we increase the velocity of those deals down funnel too. And I think that question that Mike was asking is the exact right question to ask. Deborah is asking a question that a lot of people ask, which is like, I want this, Milton, but I want to do it without any customization. No. Unfortunately, no. Because I'm not even gonna, say that, because I got a lot of stuff to say, but I know we got a lot of Salesforce AEs on this webinar and they're spying on me and they're gonna they already hate me, so I'm not gonna say it, but no, it's not done out of the box. There isn't any way to do it. There are third-party plugins that you can maybe buy. Sometimes that makes it more convoluted than just building your own native option, right? So that's the I think that's the rub there. But there isn't a way to do what I'm saying out of the box. But think about it from Salesforce perspective, right? They're trying to sell. I don't want to get into economic incentives. All right, but they have to appeal to a wide audience selling the same CRM. But anyway, Good question. So there isn't a way to do that, but I think you can get away with it with a couple of fields and a flows. I think you could get that done. Yes, unknown is asking me another little caveat. If somebody doesn't fill out the form and they don't have a UTM, well, if they click on a link, right, then they come to the landing page, they don't fill out that form, then they go to your home page and then go to another form and fill it out. Will the UTM carry over? No, it doesn't. It drops. It's only if they fill out that form at that time. In Google Analytics, it does session tracking, so it tracks the whole session. You'll notice I'm just going to badger this into your head, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, now there are third-party tools you can buy to do that every touch, every time, all the time, right? Visible is a big one. These are expensive tools, and I'm saying if you're not spending a bunch of money, like I would say like above 20K a month on ad spend, don't even look into it because, you know, the juice isn't going to be worth the squeeze as far as like the cost. Yeah. Good questions. Any other questions? Yeah, Tyler's lived life before. Those errors on your form. If you make an error on the form, it removes all the UTM parameters. And in Pardot.Prodigy, I always say this, that phone number field is the #1 cause for errors on every Pardot form. Because people make it a phone field, a number field instead of a text field, and then somebody puts a dash, and then it causes an error, and then you strip all your UTM parameters. Mark. Cool. Pro tip, always use Pardot native forms, not form handlers. You can if you don't want to, but there's a bunch of reasons why. If you do use a form handler, that's a whole nother thing, but always try to use Pardot native forms and iframe them in there. And if you iframe them in there, don't use the iframe method that's in Pardot built in. Weird, right? This is how you should do that. This is how you should be iframing your Pardot forms into your website so UTM parameters come in. Why? It goes into a whole thing, but basically it's cross-domain. Your Pardot form is hosted on like go.saleslabx.com, and your main domain is hosted on SalesLabX.com, and sometimes those UTM parameters don't come in. Here's the link. So this is the way you should be iframing it in. I don't know why this just isn't the default. I have my opinions. I'll keep to myself. I guess job security, right? But I guess I'm giving you this information now, so I don't know. Okay, whatever. But what else? Any other questions in the chat? Is there a best practice for doing this with form handlers? One, I would push back on if you don't have time today. We talk about it in Pardot.Prodigy, or book a demo and then we can chat. But there's a couple of reasons I don't like form handlers. We can talk about it another day. Lindsay, form handlers are very hard to manage because, well, it's hard for me to give you direct advice because it's basically the platform that you're using your form, like Gravity Forms or Elementor or Lead to Form. Like everyone is different on how you do that.
Yeah, we use Gravity. We relaunched our website and use Gravity Forms. I had no part in this.
Man, I'm in the game too long. Okay. But yeah, we can talk about it and I can tell you how easy it is to use native forms. But yeah, how to deal with contacts in an SF account and the one listed on the opportunity as a primary contact is not the one who is a campaign member. Ooh, I got an answer for you, but like, I don't think we'll have time. Basically, just automatically add people to the opportunity as hidden influencers using very high level, but you know, that's what how I would explain that in 2 minutes. What else? Anything else y'all came here to listen to about? Thank you. I try to give a lot of information and not a lot of fluff, you know? I know the internet is a loud place sometimes. I try to be louder. What else? First party versus third party. Okay, great. One thing I want you to do today, if you have not yet, is I want you to look at in your account engagement, marketing analytics, whatever tool you use or Pardot, right? And I want you to see if you use first party tracking or third party tracking. So the demise of cookies, I think, is a little bit overblown. But basically, there's a difference between first party tracking and third party tracking. Natively in Pardot, in the olden days, when you put the Pardot tracking code on your header of your website, this is how it looks, right? It'll say PI host name. Now, I'm not a Google Analytics expert. I like to play one on webinars, but I'm not. So I'm going to just give you a high-level overview. This tracking code right now, if I go to apple.com and Pardot tracking code is on the host, on the tracking, I am the user and Apple is the second party and the third party is Pardot. So this is a third party that it's sending the data to, right? You're on apple.com, but you're sending your cookie information to a third party, which is pardot.com. Now remember, I'm not that smart. Drop that at 19. So I'm giving you a very high level overview. Actually, it was 17. Child at 19. Drop that at 17. Okay. That's what it is. Now, Pardot, maybe over a year ago, implemented in beta, and now I think it's in full production, first party cookies. It's right here. Why it's not default? I don't even know. Okay. Now, let's edit that part out, Jessica. Okay. So if you turn on first party tracking, okay, now what's going to happen is Pardot is going to generate a new code for you. Okay. This code is going to look very similar to the other code, except now look, instead of saying pi.pardot, it says www2.saleslabx.com. Wait, now all of a sudden it became first party, right? Cat and mouse game. Because now I'm way oversimplifying. I don't know if, all of this, but now this is Pardot's solution to first party tracking. Exactly, Deborah. Now you're going to update all of your tracking codes to this. People don't realize this, but Safari has been blocking this for over a year now. So if you're not using first party tracking, Safari's already been blocking it. Apple likes to play the biggest gatekeeper in the world. No, I'm kidding. They care about your privacy, but they have their own ad platform that they sell ads on, which is kind of weird. But yeah, so you've already been losing a lot of your traffic on Safari. And you'd be surprised on how many people use the default option on their corporate devices and their iPhones. So go ahead, use first party tracking. Nothing to do with UTM parameters, but just another one of those things that I think should be default that I think you should be doing. Just random. That's all you have to do, Deborah. Click that button, generate the code, update your thing. Header tag on your website is the best way to put it. Okay. If you use last thing unrelated, but I'm just gonna say it before we go. Actually, one more pitch. If you love what you heard today, Jessica will be reaching out. I would love to work on you with a regular basis and build these out for you. We build awesome emails, landing pages, native Pardot forms. I will be leading the Pardot Prodigy that starts in August, post baby. We would also love a Google review. Say my name for extra points. I think that works. And then, that's it for the pitches. Feel free to jump off. You will get the recording. It'll be hosted on YouTube, so you'll have lifetime access to the recording. It's not going to be gated, so feel free to reach out to anybody. Pass it around, post it, anything like that. Cool. If you want to jump, go ahead. I'm not going to feel bad. All I'm going to say is if you have not done this already, make sure you turn on 2-click unsubscribe on your Pardot instance. Right? So basically, if you put that unsubscribe link on your emails, what happens is, all these bots, where 30% of your opens and clicks are now not even accurate, up to 30%. I just made that number up, but a lot number, right? Do I have anything else? I'm just like going off. No. I block time for me to rant. Okay. So when a bot clicks on those unsubscribe links, it automatically unsubscribes them. So these bots are basically in like Outlook and Gmail, and it clicks on links to make sure that there's no malicious links in there. But that counts as a click. That's why you see all those false clicks on your email reports, right? Which is okay. That's a disturbance. But now Pardot is going to count those as actual unsubscribes, and you're going to lose like a bunch of your database for years. No, it doesn't. I don't know what the 2-click email regulations are, but this is a default ability here. And it doesn't require, all it requires you to do is click on the button, and then it just says, are you sure? I guess Deborah is saying, make sure you talk to your legal team. I don't know. But maybe. I can't give, I'm not allowed to give legal advice or GDPR advice. I can only help you implement the strategy that your internal team comes up with. That being said, that one-click advice, that one-click unsubscribe is giving you bot clicks, bot unsubscribes, and people are being unsubscribed that did not mean to be unsubscribed. All you have to do is come here and just click enable on this, and all it does is give them one more window that says, click here to confirm you're unsubscribed. It doesn't make them do anything else. Woo! All right. I'm off. I appreciate y'all coming. Let me know if you have any questions. You'll get the follow-up recording today. I would love to work with you on a regular basis. Let me know if you need anything. Look out for some retargeting ads with my baby's website. All right. Bye, y'all. Have fun. Thanks for joining. Show up next time, too, even if you don't buy anything. Bye.